The group of monuments are a group of Jain temples and Hindu temples in Chhatarpur district, Madhya Pradesh, India, about 175 kilometers southeast of Jhansi. They are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The temples are famous for their Nagara style architectural symbolism and their erotic sculpture. Most Khajuraho temples were built between 885 AD and 1050 AD by the Chandela dynasty. Historical records note that the Khajuraho temple site had 85 temples by the 12th century, spread over 20 square kilometers. Of this, only about 22 temples have survived, spread over 6 square kilometers. Most temples were built during the reigns of the Hindu kings Yasovarman and Dhanga. The temple inscriptions suggest many of the currently surviving temples were complete between 970 and 1030 AD, with further temples completed during the following decades. In 1022 CE, Khajuraho was mentioned by Abu Rihan al-Biruni. The Persian historian who accompanied Mahmud of Ghazani in his raid of Kalinjar. He mentions Khajuraho as the capital of Jajauti. The raid was unsuccessful and a peace accord was reached when the Hindu king agreed to pay ransom to Mahmud of Ghazni to end the attack and leave. temples were in active use through the end of the 12th century. This changed in 13th century after the army of Delhi Sultanate under the command of the Muslim Sultan Qutbuddin Aibak attacked and seized the Chandrila kingdom. About a century later, Ibn Battuta, the Moroccan traveller, in his memoirs about his stay in India from 1335 to 1342 AD, mentioned visiting Khajuraho temples, calling them Khajara as follows. Near Khajuraho temples, which contain idols that have been mutilated by the Muslims, live a numbers of yogis whose matted locks have grown as long as their bodies, and on account of extreme asceticism, they are all yellow in color. Many Muslims attend these men in order to take lessons from them. The central Indian region, where Khajuraho temples are, was controlled by the various Muslim dynasties from the 13th century through the 18th century. In this period, some temples were desecrated, followed by a long period when they were left in neglect. In 1495 AD, for example, Sikandar Lodi's campaign of temple destruction included Khajuraho. The remoteness and isolation of Khajuraho protected the Hindu and Jain temples from continued destruction by Muslims. Over the centuries, vegetation and forest overgrew the temples. In the 1830s, local Hindus guided the British surveyor T.S. Bard to the temples, and they were thus rediscovered by the global audience. Alexander Cunningham later reported, few years after the rediscovery, that the temples were secretly in use by yogis and thousands of Hindus would arrive for pilgrimage during Shivratri, celebrated annually in February or March based on the lunar calendar. In 1852, F.C. Massey prepared earliest drawings of Khajuraho temples. The Khajuraho temples are made of sandstone with a granite foundation that is almost concealed from view. The stones were put together with mortise and tenon joints and they were held in place by gravity. This from a construction requires very precise joints. Were built with megaliths that weighed up to 20 tons. Some repair work in 19th century was done with brick and mortar. However, these have aged faster than original material and darkened with the time, thereby seeming out of place. However, these have aged faster than original materials and darked with time, thereby seeming out of place. The Khajuraho temples represent one expression of many forms of art that flourished in Rajput kingdoms of India from 8th through 10th century CE. At the Khajuraho monuments decided to Vishnu include the Vyalas, which are hybrid imaginary animals with lions' bodies and are found in the other Indian temples. Some of these hybrid mythical artwork include uniq Vyala and Gaja Vyala. May represent syncretic creative combination of power innate in the two.